meeting for December 5th, 2022 to order. Please call the roll.
Counselor Hill.
Here.
Counselor Burge.
Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Gozek.
Here.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of our November 21st, 2022 meeting? Counselor Burge, Counselor Walker.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozek.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Under communication, item number 1. The Zoning and Planning Office has received a request from Ed Alberts, owner of a commercial property located at 1 West Bridge Street, for the construction of a ground-level patio and seating area. Mr. McGinn?
Good evening. So this project is obviously the old City Hall, a multi-million-dollar project. We're looking to do the whole building over with some commercial space, some residential space. And part of that project is 2 levels of space. Ground level you'll see here. And if you look at the property line on what would be the southeast corner heading north comes at quite a diagonal, pretty much to the corner of the building. So we run from the back of the building out to the Riverwalk, and their plan is to have ground level entrance for some functions in the basement with patio space down there between the building and the Riverwalk, which involves about 2,100 square feet of public space. And then off the first floor, the restaurant bar area that has existed there. There's also a patio that runs the length of 175 that catches just a tail end triangle at what would be the northeast corner of the building. And we were just talking, the city engineer and myself, there is some utilities and infrastructure in there. We're all working together to try to encompass that and make it all work, but they're obviously looking to pick up this space to accommodate the bar restaurant on that floor and take advantage of the view along the river there.
Okay. Will there be any impediment to pedestrian traffic or flow of any sort of movement in that area?
So it wouldn't involve the actual Riverwalk walkway at all. I think the biggest obstacle that we face, as the city engineer and I were just talking about, is the future project of the underground National Grid electrical there. We may have to coordinate some stuff with that, and we have some other infrastructure in the area that we're seeking out and making sure that we deal with, but it would not involve the pedestrian walkway that exists.
Any questions from the council? Councilor
Gonna
Burge?
go right up to the edge of the Riverwalk?
The lower level, the ground level patio is proposed to go right up to the Riverwalk. And then, as Abby Weaver from Ed's project is here tonight too, if you have any questions for her. They are dealing with SHPO and so forth on the construction of the building and the renovation. So there may be some push back and forth to exactly what size that first story deck can be. They're hoping for around 9 feet, 9 to 10 feet. SHPO may come back and try to get them to reduce that a little bit depending on what was originally there. So we're kind of looking at best case scenario on here and hoping that sticks.
Great. Yeah, I thought Abby looked familiar. We went to school many, many years ago together. So I'm looking over going, huh. Anyway, any other questions for Mr. McGinn? Counselor?
I was wondering, sure, so it's basically that area that's always been just refuse and firewood and bricks and garbage back there forever since the railroad days, right?
Bingo. Pretty much that is it. Yes.
Now, I think it'd be great, but, I love that building just as much as anybody in town, but it's interesting, I don't know how they're gonna do that with SHPO because, most people don't know, originally the front door faced the river. So, hopefully you don't have too many problems with that, but I think it's a great idea to reclaim that space down there.
I think it's fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing it put to good use. Excellent. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, Counselor?
Through the chair. So I didn't notice when, now that December, when was this part of the project going to be started? In the spring? Are we working towards spring?
I'm going to look to Abby for time frame on that. She could probably answer that a little bit better.
Yeah, timeframe just for that funding. We're in it as a Restore New York grant, which we do appreciate the support of the city of Oswego. We're waiting on the resolution of
guess there's some flexibility with the patio and the first floor deck is more to getting everything lined up to get the financing to be able to then start the interior renovations and so forth, where I think
Sounds like many pieces of the
once
puzzle
we
have to come together.
Once we have the approvals and have all the pieces together, then we can work together to work around the infrastructure issues.
I'm sure everybody's looking forward to the renovation. You know, several of us took advantage of your tour opportunity, and you did a great job on the tour, by the way.
It was so fun, and now it looks so different with most of the items removed. But yeah, just that next step, we can't go to SHPO saying we're gonna put this here if we don't have the, the support of the city. So we do appreciate everyone's support on this project.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walker.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
At this time, I'd like to open the Administrative Services Committee meeting. Please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino.
Here.
Counselor McBurney. Counselor Hill.
Here.
Counselor Plunkett.
Here.
Counselor Burridge.
Here.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the November 21st, 2022 committee meeting. Counselor Plunkett, Counselor McBurney.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney. Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Is there any old business to attend to? Seeing none. Item number 1, under communication. City Chamberlain Deborah Code seeks approval of an official bond resolution for the High Dam Hydroelectric Station improvements as previously adopted on Council Resolution Number 34 and 60 of 2022. Mrs. Code, would you like to add anything here?
Thank you, Counselor. It also includes 2 resolutions from 2021 allowing me to advance funds for the High Dam. So now, after consulting with the city engineer, we're ready to bond for the project. So the official bond resolution from Bond Council will come before you on Monday evening. It'll be $2,392,330, and it will need 5 votes to pass.
All right, very good. Any questions for our City Chamberlain from the council? From the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney. Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 2, City Attorney Kevin Caracoli requests favorable consideration in waiving certain fees incurred by the City of Oswego in relation to an alleged code violation at property located at 31-33 West Fifth Street. Please take your time in explaining this to us.
Thank you. I thought I'd start out with a joke or two, but no. This is you know, from the start of the Barlow administration, and even before that, code enforcement was first and foremost in the town's mind, and I think the results speak for themselves. Aggressive enforcement of the code has helped, in many respects, the city prosper. Every now and again, we may get ahead of ourselves, and I think this is one case where we have done that. And I'm not faulting anyone or casting aspersions, but I know that you've seen the committee packet, and I just want to kind of lay out the facts as I understand them. And earlier this year, February 28th, and the days are important here. February 28th, the police department responded to 3133 West Fifth Street due to a complaint regarding an abandoned sofa, I believe it was. May have been on top of a snowbank at the time. And the occupants of the property in question are tenants of the owner of the property. And they readily admitted that they put the sofa out because Butler was coming the next day to pick it up. You know, we can split hairs here, and the code does say that you're not supposed to put trash out the evening before pickup. As I understand it, this was a special pickup. It was going to happen at the next day, which would have been March 1st. So March 1st comes around, and at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on March 1st, the sofa was gone. But it was picked up by the city of Oswego and our contractors that handle code enforcement, trash cleanup. They mow the lawns of unkempt properties and things of that nature. And so those are those facts. The very next day, March 2nd, the city of Oswego issued the property owner a code violation and a notice to remedy, the remedy being remove the couch. But as was indicated in your packet, that came at a cost to the property owner of $401. Again, I'm all in favor for code enforcement, but it has to be done properly, and in this situation, I'm not sure that it was. I'm aware that the code office indicates that it was an emergency, that there was weather, that may have been impending, some wind, concerns about cushions, blowing into the road. I don't know if that constitutes an emergency, but the fact that it was a police complaint precipitated this on February 28th. The city came by on the very next day and removed it, and then issued a violation with the order, and I thought I put that in the packet, but I don't see it in mine. But the language in that order states, you've got to comply, you've got to pick it up. You have so many days to do it. I mean, under the code, you have 30 days to rectify a code violation. This was less than 24 hours. So I think we got ahead of ourselves, and I'm not sure that I thought in my review of the information, I did talk to the property owner, thought there was a good faith intention here. I don't believe this was anything that was malicious. It was an effort to take care of a discarded piece of furniture. So it's my recommendation that the city waive that fee. It has to be waived through this body, the council. So that is the request. I'm happy to answer questions because I'm certain that you may have questions on this one.
All right, thank you. Counselor, yes, Counselor Hill.
Through the chair. I am interested in getting the code enforcement perspective on this to see, what the circumstances were leading up to this, because I'm very hesitant to waive any sort of code enforcement fees because the minute that item hits the snowbank or the curb, the damage is done. So the whole point of a prompt code enforcement response is to mitigate any damage, but once it's already there, it's over. The neighborhood's already detrimented. There's a negative impact, based on that action. So that's why, we try to stay on top of the stuff. I'm just very hesitant to just waive a fee when I've never seen a request like this before for any other code enforcement fee, given any circumstance. So if Mr. McGann could really speak to this and if this is truly an internal error that was made, then I could understand that, but.
You got a loud voice.
The IT guy's right behind you.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll be completely honest with you. This went through before I was in charge of code enforcement, so I'm not completely familiar with this exact situation. But I can tell you, going back to Council Caracoli's, there's two different types of orders that we put out. We put out, let's say somebody has broken window, siding that's falling off, hole in the soffit and fascia, broken front steps. That's in order to remedy. That by law, by New York State, is a 30-day. Generally, trash pickup, furniture, stuff of that nature, unkempt lawns, that's generally a 3-day. It's a much quicker turnaround. It's definitely at the discretion for an emergency pickup. If they felt, and again, being honest, I wasn't involved in this originally, so I would guess that they had it picked up immediately for that reason, because it was winter time, because of plowing, the size of it. It appears to me, I did see the pictures today. There was couch, looked like a love seat, there was loose cushions in the snow. So if they felt like that could blow or fall into the road and then maybe get covered up with snow and be hit by a plow, I would guess that's why they did an immediate pickup. So there is a little bit of gray area to make a decision on that. Every case is a little bit different. You wouldn't consider a long unkempt grass to be an emergency and go right over and mow it that day. You'd give them the 3 days to do it. But there are situations where there's stuff out in front, garbage blowing around a front yard on a windy day, and it's blowing up the neighborhood and making a mess of somebody else's yard. Could certainly warrant an emergency pickup. Hopefully that helps.
Yep.
Councilor McGrady?
Yes, so I just wanted to add a little bit of, Butler's fee was paid on the first. They were contracted to pick it up before the end of the business day. That information was given to the police department, and that, as far as I know, was forwarded to code. So code knew that it was being picked up on the first, and made a decision not to wait. Any weather was coming in the following days, not that night. The pictures, I mean, it's on my block, nothing was falling into the road. It was, I mean, the roads were plowed to the curb, so this was on the utility strip. You know, the snow plow, the snow drift, the snow plow, what do you call it, up onto the utility strip, set it on top of that. So I understand that they're not supposed to put it out the night before, but I don't see necessarily that it would have made any difference if they put it out in the morning, as far as police reaction, except that it would have been a complaint to the police department, and we possibly would not put it on the radar.
Yes, Councilor Walker?
So you had a contractor picked it up, correct?
Correct.
And you want the city to eat that? Is that what you were asking?
Correct.
Okay.
As opposed to defending a lawsuit, potentially. I mean, it's a cost-benefit analysis. If I were the property owner and I was charged with that, I'd probably sue. I'm not saying that there's been a threat. I will say, you know, and I'm no scientist, but just, you know, looking up weather for February 28th and March 1st, there's nothing that shows that there's anything of concern. There was, the weather was at, it started out at 20 degrees at midnight, and by 3 p.m. it was up to 45 degrees that day. I don't remember that day. Couldn't tell you. It looked like it snowed that day, but not until 6 p.m. at night. It snowed 0.05 inches, so I don't even know what that is. Less than an inch, right? You know, the wind speed, okay, the wind speed, there were some gusts earlier in the morning, and then it was, you know, average 10 miles an hour after that. So I don't know. I think we got ahead of ourselves on this one. I defend the code enforcement department. I work with them hand in hand. We've cleaned up the code calendar that was a couple pages long across the street when we took office, and I think we had, we didn't have one, we had one illegal dumping charge, which the person pled guilty to last Tuesday. So I'm all in favor of code enforcement. I just, when we get a little ahead of ourselves, I think we end up creating some potential liability.
All right, thank you. Any other concerns or questions? Yes, Councilor Gozick.
Yeah, this is serving for 4 terms here. I know, Councilor, you yourself experienced this as well. I mean, we've got a Claude Barlow administration and the council's circumstances, the city should be, we should be more careful in the future and try to be a little more circumspect and, like a softer, gentler, kinder approach, just, trying to be reasonable with the people in the city. There's egregious violations, but we all know that we more often landlords and don't have any consideration for neighbors. But by and large, I think we need to look at that and be careful. The ordinary citizens, sort of like people that own constantly here, and try to gauge it on a case-by-case basis. So,
All right.
personally, I think Council makes a great point that I think for the city. This one also looking at other examples of cases like this. It's not bad. It's a lot.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Burridge.
Yeah, the code department does a great job. We all know that. They've done some work over in my area, and lately I've been down to their office quite numerous times. I know that I had a call from a young lady that bought a house in my ward. She lived in Rochester, and our department, the code department's so good, they send out a letter for tall grass on one day. By the time she gets it 2 days later in Rochester, the third day they're cutting the grass before she can come down and cut the grass. So I understand, these people are trying to do the right thing, and I don't think the code department was by any means trying to, I think, we don't know if these people that put this couch out there were trying to do the right thing. They had to leave in the morning, something was going on. They already had a butler contracted to pick it up. I mean, they tried doing the right thing, in my mind. I don't think we should punish them for at least making an attempt. And I prefer not to eat it myself, but this is one of the things we have to do. We're working out for the public. This is what we have to do. Be great if they were here to tell us what happened, but they're not. But I think that this is one of these deals that we should just take and understand this is one of our residents, and you should look out for them.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Any other Counselor comments at this point? Anybody else want to chime in? I think we've discussed this in quite a lot of detail, and we probably spent more time on this than we have on some $1 million issues. So I think we've done a good job of covering all the facts, starting back in February 28th. So without further ado, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor McBurney.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney? Yes. Counselor Hill?
No.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Item number 3, City Engineer Jeff Hinderleiter requests authorization for the mayor to sign the new energy sales agreement with National Grid for the period of January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Mr. Hinderleiter, you're up.
Get comfy. Just kidding. Try to make this quick. So when the city acquired the High Dam and invested in it back in the 90s, in order to sell its power, it had to enter a power purchase agreement and an interconnection agreement with National Grid. That gives us a means by which to sell and to get to market physically. That is expiring on December 31st of this year. And so as we are negotiating, working through a new power purchase agreement, or as they call them now, an energy sales agreement and interconnection agreement, National Grid agreed to offer a 1-year extension to allow us to stay connected, market our power under a new model, and not fear being cut off. So some highlights of the agreement and how it differs from our current agreement. Our current agreement is a fixed rate agreement with what's called a tracking account. And to put it simply, you have a fixed rate. If the market is higher than that, they owe us money. If the market's lower than that, we owe them money. So over the last couple decades, that has been how the High Dam is operated. But going forward, it'll just be real-time, daily market rate of the value as we generate it. It's what it's worth. And in addition to that, we'll also get paid for what we call a capacity rate, which is what our plant has the ability to generate, and there's a factor where that's an incentive for them to pay us so that we do generate. And then we'll also, now under this new agreement, we're going to retain the rights to our green energy credits. These are things that are financial offsets that are offered that we can put to market and add to our portfolio of ways to get revenue there. So in a lot of ways is a much more modern and efficient way to do business, and this lets us fill the gap as we bring the plant back online and we get a new power purchase agreement, a new marketing analysis that we're working on to be able to see what's the best way for us to churn a revenue here for our citizens.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council for our city engineer? From the public? By the way, thank you for that detailed history lesson on where we were and where we are today on that high dam. Can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor Plunkett.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney? Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Item number 4, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. seeks favorable consideration for approval of a sewer use agreement with the town of Oswego. And our city attorney, or?
I believe we have sufficiently
Yes,
worked the clock.
Yes,
as
we
they
have.
say.
so,
Just like Tom Brady.
you're no Tom Brady, but
No, well, anyway, I think the mayor is on his way, but I am actually wearing a second hat here. As you know, and I've disclosed previously, I represent the town of Oswego. Pleased to introduce to you the town supervisor, Dan Gurney, who's just behind me, who is, willing, prepared to say a few words in support of this agreement. I will just say in general that this agreement is a long time coming. It has been reviewed and negotiated directly by the mayor and Supervisor Gurney and his predecessor, Supervisor Colfus. It's been reviewed by Ms. Code and the City Chamberlain's Department and her staff. They've raised a couple of points, one of which the agreement did not have a penalty clause for late payments, and town agrees that there should be a penalty clause, not that we're looking to violate in any way or issue late payments to the city of Oswego, but penalty clause keeps everyone motivated to pay on time, and open communication between the town clerk's office and the billing clerks at the town and the city chamberlain's office will rectify any of those issues generally. Those of you who may have been on the council long enough might recall that there was in addition to the per 1,000 gallon fee, there was a $95 connection fee for the residents of Ontario Heights, which really comprised about the balance of the agreement for many, many years. That connection fee is going away in lieu of a couple of things. Previously, there was a calculation based on 80% of the consumption of water. Very difficult. We'd get the bills from Aqua because the town water is supplied by Aqua. That is then converted by 80%, and then you apply the per 1,000 gallon rate, and that's where you come up with the figure in addition to this $95. In going back and forth on this, and there were multiple proposals, but we thought it was best to eliminate the connection fee and go to 100% water consumption. It's just an easier calculation. Here's the bill. You apply the per 1,000 gallon dollar rate to that, and that's what you pay per EDU, which stands for an equivalent dwelling unit, essentially a one-family residence. We've got a couple of other complications, but they're similar to what we have here in the city. We've got apartment complexes that aren't just one EDU, but they're multiple EDUs, and in some cases they're factors of dozens. For instance, the city of Oswego has an agreement with Novelis, and Novelis, I don't know the exact figures, but they're in the 500 to 600 EDUs, so one equivalent dwelling unit. But we're trying to get it down to what an average homeowner would pay. You'll recall that, and the council, again, those of you who were on it, approved an agreement to add the Lakeside Commons, the student housing complex on 104. That's about 80 EDUs when you figure it all up. But there's only one meter that applies to that. So we tried to calculate a rate that made sense for the users of Lakeside Commons, Ontario Heights, and then there's a new sewer district that's being formed. It's actually been formed. They haven't put a shovel in the ground yet because we're working on cost overruns due to COVID, something that this council's very familiar with. That won't likely go online until 2024. But that will establish yet another rate. And eventually, what this agreement does over the course of about 3 years or so, 3 to 4 years, it will put all users of sewer in the town of Oswego paying the same rate at the same time. So it will be really easy, and that's what the goal of this agreement is, to keep things simple. And so, let's see, is there one other issue? Yeah, I mean, just in consultation with the Chamberlain's office, we don't work on a January through December billing cycle here, and that's fine. The billing goes, the bills go out February, May, August, and November, and the bill that's due in February is for, usage in the prior year. So we think that we've got all of that worked out, and just making sure that the billing cycles match up for the town and the city so that we're all working on the same numbers. So those are the highlights. I do want to turn it over to Supervisor Gurney just to say a few words of support and to answer any questions that you might have. I think the mayor is here, but if there are questions for him too, we can ask him. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Gurney. I'm the town supervisor for the town of Oswego. This has been, Kevin stole all my good stuff, so I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and I did plan a speech. This is a ongoing project. The main reason that this has come up is we've been on it's a year, just ongoing increase to Ontario Heights, which has been an existing district in the town for the last, I think it's been 40 years or more. And the ultimate goal, what got this going is the town is really, I'm going to sound unprofessional, sorry. We're really jazzed about getting the Lakeshore Commercial Sewer District in. We have some, Rudy's being one, wants to do some expansion. We also, the main reason for this is that Rick Hoffus, my predecessor, started this was because of some of the flooding that occurred, and just bad stuff getting in the lake and the watershed. But we also threw on top of that, we thought that there was possibility to increase some of our campgrounds, want to increase their size over time on the Lakeshore Commercial Sewer District. So in order to make it easy, we're going to go to quarterly billing. We're going to make it 100% of the aqua usage, get rid of some of the $95 connection fee, and it's not really getting rid of it. I'm the one that did the calculation, and I did it 6-7 months ago, and I had to dust off my algebra book. So that was 35 years ago that I did all this in school, so I had to familiarize myself. But trying to get everyone on the same rate and make it easy for both the city and the town for our billing purposes, and make sure that the city is whole, and make sure that the town residents get the levels, they pay. Some of the consternation I had over the time when we were negotiating this was possible senior citizens in the Ontario Heights district, if they were going to get gouged, and I wanted to make sure that they were just getting, minimal increases, and we're basing it on usage rather than a flat fee like the city does with its residents. But Mayor Barlow and I had great conversations and came to an agreement, and Kevin, I think he's done a great job in documenting it, and we're here now, and I appreciate your support, and I look forward to continued successful working relationship with the city. So any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Supervisor Gurney? Yes, Counselor Walker.
I have one question. You got Ontario Heights and the Lakeside Commons. They're two different rates. Why is that? The size of the buildings, or, I mean, they're both per 1,000 gallons?
No, and when I was doing the calculation, this is what, so one of the things that we talked about was trying to make sure that, of course, the city was whole with the total payment, quarterly payment coming to the city being what it is today plus the percentage increase. The problem with Ontario Heights, and Kevin was trying to articulate it, is Ontario Heights, not Ontario Heights, but Lakeside Commons, but Ontario Heights, the connection fee, everyone was paying at the 80%, they were paying the same rate for usage. What happened though is back when the agreement was decided between the town and the Lakeside Commons, and I believe the city was involved too. I can't speak to that because I just started at the beginning of this year. What happens is that because there's basically 80 EDUs or so, there's 320 beds, what happens is that they only had 1 meter, and everyone's thought process is 1 meter, 1 connection fee. And when you try to algebraically look at the formula, a general 4-person household does about 40,000 gallons a year, 10,000 a quarter. And when you look at that portion of the 10,000 gallons, it's a lot more than the $95 fee for 200,000 that you do at Lakeside Commons.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is bring them, without a drastic increase in year 1, bring them to where everyone is the same. And that's the reason why.
Thank you.
All right.
It wasn't an easy task, trust me. And like I said, when I was pulling out my algebra book and trying to figure all this out, man, I was up some late nights trying to figure out the way to get everyone on even ground and paying the same.
Well, this is a 5-year agreement. You won't need to take out the algebra book
Not
for a
5
while.
years.
Yeah, you're good. Any other questions? Yes, Counselor Hill.
Should we have someone check the math? Couldn't help it.
I'll share my calculations. It's not pretty until it's scratched on scratch pads.
Good point, Counselor. Anybody else? Yes.
I wanted to highlight one other point that Ms. Code has pointed out. Mentioned how billing cycles go from 1 year to the next. So the November billing, the capacity, the consumption in November, December, and January gets billed in February. We adopt this agreement, there's actually going to be 2 months that are kind of hanging out there in the wind, September and October. What the town is proposing to do is to pay the city at this point in time. Once we have the figures, I think we might have them now, and pay them at the current contract rate, so that we clean up those 2 hanging months of September and October. And then the first bill that the city would receive, or first payment, would be the November through January consumption. That covers, so it would cover, the last 2 months of this year and the first month of next year. That's why the agreement says it's effective, technically February 1st. I think that's, from an accounting perspective, and I'm no accountant, but an operational, that seems to make sense to me. And I think Ms. Code agrees. Yeah. Consumption-wise, estimate the consumption, so it's, generally 2/3 of the bill.
So you did your due diligence to try to estimate so we can all be on the same billing cycle eventually.
Exactly.
September and October is, so who knows if we're going to be right on the money, but it's going to be close, hopefully. Okay, I got it. Anybody else have any concerns or questions for these host of characters we have here tonight? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor McBurney, Councilor Plunkett.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney? Yes. Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Item number 5, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requested executive session for discussion regarding a personnel matter. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to go into executive session, recess in executive session. Counselor Hill, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney? Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge? You all right back there? Need a life